Namaskar. Welcome to another episode of Editorial. You see, from water leaks to paper leaks to bridge collapse to railway accidents, do we see more problems, more failures in this government than successes? This is what we will discuss today. Let's get right into the show. You know, during my advertising days, my boss then would always say, my boss, he was a Britisher, a fine gentleman, a brilliant mind. You know, this boss of mine would say that failure is not the sign of incompetence. Failure is not the sign of incompetence. The inability to accept failure is. The inability to address failure is. The inability to be concerned about your failure is the sign of incompetence. It's a very, very relevant statement. You see, this government, like I told you in my introduction, this government seems to have had more failures in their tenure than successes. The issue is not that. A lot of governments do fail. A lot of government policies fail. Every government of India, actually, every government all over the world failed. Not all policies are successful. But the problem and the concern here is the way our government addresses their failures. The way our government, the ability of the government or the inability of the government to accept the failure. That's what is concerning. Because more often than not, our government doesn't seem to be accepting their failures. Is not seen as addressing their failures, being concerned about their failures. I'll give you an example. You see, huge amount of monies were spent on Central Vista, that too in the middle of COVID. When people were dying for oxygen, we had spent money for Central Vista. Why? Because the parliamentarians wanted a new parliament building. And what happened to that Central Vista? What happened to that Central Vista after all that inauguration and Shingol and all of that? It is leaking. It is leaking. There are buckets kept inside that Central Vista building. Did the government address it? Did somebody come in front of you and say, sorry yaar, galti ho gaya. I don't know what happened or I know this happened. We are correcting it in next 24 hours. It will be corrected. Did somebody tell you that? The ability to accept and the ability to address. Ram Mandir. I think Bharatiya Janata Party had put the basis of their election, possibly the biggest single USP for their election in 2024 was the Ram Mandir, and that Ram Mandir is leaking. Did somebody come and tell you, sorry, oops, we did a mistake. This was the error. This is what we have identified, and in next whatever hours we are correcting it. Did somebody come and tell you? You know, Atal Setu in Mumbai, in my city. My God, the way it was launched, the way the Prime Minister came down, the drones, the camera, my God, the way it was launched. And recently, we found out that the way toward leading to the Atal Setu, there are cracks, huge cracks. Did anybody bother to say that, Baba, listen, sorry, mistake ho gaya. I don't know what happened there. Did the Prime Minister who came and inaugurated and all ever say, yeah, I have noticed that there are cracks, let me see what I can do, or these are the reasons for the cracks, this is how I'm going to address it. Did he tell you? The problem is, we don't see serious addressal of a problem. What we see in the parliament is this. Watch.
माननीय सभापति जी, जिसकी जात का पता नहीं, वो गन्ना की बात करता है। की बात करता है।
अरे तो अपनी जाति भी लिखनी पड़ेगी उसमें।
आप चुप रहे। श्री अनुराग ठाकुर जी।
What we see in the parliament is तेरा जात क्या है? किधर से आया तू? क्या है? This is what we normally see in the parliament. Parliament, a place where these problems, these sort of problems need to be addressed. Parliament where the minister is supposed to stand only when he has a solution, and he is a person who is supposed to give the nation and the opposition a solution. But that is not what is happening. What is happening is तेरा जात क्या है? Okay, let's start from the beginning. Demonetization. Demonetization was definitely a complete flop. Now, this is my opinion and an opinion of a lot of people in this country. In fact, interesting episode, a very interesting comment that Justice Nagaratna had made in 2024, by the way, March 2024. Not in the court, she was giving a lecture in Nalsar University of Law, and at that point in time, she made a statement. And I'm going to read that statement out to you. She said in her speech that the decision for demonetization was communicated one evening and it was implemented the following day. If the intention was to transition from paper currency to plastic currency, demonetization might not have been sole reason for such a move, in my opinion. She said, what is intriguing is that at the time, 86% of our economy's currency comprised these denominations, which is the 500 and the 1000 notes. 86% of our economy currency comprised these denominations. It seems the union government overlooked this fact when deciding to demonetize such significant portion of our currency. Furthermore, 98% of the demonetized currency returned back to RBI. So where was the black money? And that is precisely why she said, ye na, black money, ya converting cash money to paper money to plastic money, this may not be the sole reason for demonetization. She further went on to say that this raises a question about effectiveness of demonetization in eradicating black money, which was its primary objective. Some even argue that it facilitated the conversion of black money into white money. The subsequent income tax proceeding remains unclear. This is what not us, but a senior judge, a learned judge of Supreme Court, one of the most respected judge of Supreme Court, had to say. My point is, while the Prime Minister stood and made a statement that in 50 days everything will be okay, or you call me anywhere, you know, whatever statement he made, but end of the day, you know how in one of the sessions the Prime Minister reacted? When the Prime Minister was in Japan, the Prime Minister went out to say that घर में शादी है, पैसे नहीं है. And the crowd, the whole crowd clapped, they laughed and they clapped. Arey, he was mocking Indians.
आपको भी पता है कि अचानक 8 तारीख को रात को 8 बजे 500 और 1000 की नोट मैं 700 करोड़ देशवासियों को नमन करता हूं, सलाम. हमें शादी है वैसे नहीं.
You know, actually, what he said in that session happened to one of my colleagues. One of my colleagues, her sister was getting married. Demonetization happened. Her father had to run pillar in front to post to ensure he arranges for money to get his daughter married. Is this how you're addressing a problem? Is this how you're concerned about the problem? Do you even have a concern about the problem? Do you even accept that demonetization was a problem? Because of demonetization, a lot of Small businesses suffered. Are you even accepting that? That's the question I ask this government. And that's the question that concerns me. Our good finance minister, I think one day she was asked about inflation and the rise in price of onions and garlic. And she said, देखो, मैं onion और garlic नहीं खाती हूँ जी. प्याज और लहसुन मैं नहीं खाती हूँ जी. She said, I don't eat onion and लहसुन. So I don't know what the price is. मैं नहीं खाती हूँ. So पहला पूछना चाहिए, बाबा क्या क्या खाते हो आप? वो पहले बताओ और नोट करो. Or ensure that you only consume all that. This is what the finance minister had said. She is the finance minister of India and saying मैं प्याज लहसुन नहीं खाती हूँ जी. So I don't know the price. The problem is not just the inflation. Like I told you, the problem is the concern about the inflation that worries. The problem is whether this government accepts the fact that there is inflation. That is what is worrying. That's the point I was making. We possibly are a country where unemployment is at its highest. The unemployed youth that we have in our country is possibly the largest in the world. And you know what? This was a statement in 2018 that Mr. Amit Shah made. He said, and this was made in the presence of Mr. Modi. He said, it is better to sell pakoras than remain unemployed. Selling pakoda is not a matter of shame. It is a shame that P. Chidambaram is comparing it with begging. I mean, what are we talking about here? Sell pakodas? Is that what the second most powerful man in 2018? In 2018, the second most powerful man in the government is saying to the rest of the countries, to the youth, pakoda becho? Again, it is not the failure. It is the concern for the failure. It is the acceptance of the failure. It is whether we accept that there has been failure. That is concerning more. This is what I was saying. This is what I am saying. This has happened so many times and so often. When 15 bridges collapsed. 15 bridges collapsed in a matter of 1 month in Bihar. 1 mahina, 1 month. And you know what Mr. Jiten Ram Majhi says? Mr. Jiten Ram Majhi called it a conspiracy. ये पूरा conspiracy है. 15 bridges collapsed. For crying out loud, shouldn't the government, both the state government and now even the central government, 15 bridges collapsing, shouldn't there be a prospection on that? Shouldn't there be an investigation on that? Shouldn't some few people should have been arrested by now for that? Because obviously 15 bridges wouldn't collapse in a month unless and until there is a war or there is some natural disaster, would it? If it has, then there is a problem. And if there is a problem, there has to be a culprit for that problem. The fact that there is none till now means the government is neither concerned nor is it accepting the fact that there is a problem. This is the point I was trying to make. The last point. There are several others, but then this editorial will go on for a couple of hours. The airport in Delhi, T1, collapsed. The airport in Delhi collapsed, and the person who was speaking the most was not the aviation minister or the government. Of course, it is not that they didn't speak, but the person who was speaking the most or heard the most was a IT cell head of Bharatiya Janata Party. That gentleman was actually talking the most, communicating the most. He tweeted saying that, listen, you know what? It is the UPA government in 2009 that built this airport. हमको क्या बोलता है? UPA government 2009 built this airport. Now the point is, a simple question I want to ask. You see, there is a division, O&M division. O&M is Operations and Maintenance Division in Government of India that is supposed to maintain these airports. The airport authorities has a maintenance division, and that maintenance division is the Government of India's responsibility. They have to maintain whether there is cracks, whether this airport will fall, whether the tarmac is right, or You mean for 10 years you didn't maintain? मालूम है कुछ नहीं? I don't know. हमने देखा ही नहीं हुआ. वो 2009 में बिल्ड किया था, हमने देखा ही नहीं, वो गया, गिर गया. Are you serious? Are you serious? Question 1. Question 2. You know the minister who built this airport in 2009, his name was Praful Patel. He was a part of the UPA and he was from NCP. You know where is Mr. Praful Patel now? He's still with NCP, but the NCP that went and joined Bharatiya Janata Party. So he's part of Bharatiya Janata Party NDA now. Acha, do you also know that the same minister was offered a MOS, Minister of State, in the current 2024 Modi government? He was offered. He said, मेरे को नहीं मांगता है. मेरे को नहीं मांगता है because मैं minister था, अभी you making me Minister of State. मेरे को नहीं मांगता है. He said that. Thank God for it. Otherwise, he would have been a minister. So, Bharatiya Janata Party not only didn't accept that he was the cause of all this, they even offered him a minister, rewarded him by offering him a ministership. They offered that party only one ministership because NCP, Ajit Pawar faction only got one seat. So, one minister they offered him. The point that I'm trying to make here is, look at how the government has accepted this problem, or the inability of the government to accept this as a problem, and the inability of the government to address this. Instead of addressing it, saying that, listen, end of the day, it is my problem. End of the day, it is my problem. I am going to resolve it. They are tweeting, the Bharatiya Janata Party. In fact, the most of the tweets have been done by a Bharatiya Janata Party member rather than the government, who saying that is UPA government who did it. I said my last, but I cannot end this editorial without talking about railway accidents. You see, when you say that I am changing the face of railways, I am getting in super fast trains, I am inaugurating super fast trains. If you say that, then you need to ensure that super fast trains runs in super best tracks. You should ensure that those super fast trains are accident free. People don't die. अरे super fast trains का तो छोड़ो, goods train are getting derailed. Accidents after accidents. And you know what the railway minister talks about? Not that he has not spoken about what he is going to do. I am not disputing that. But what he talks about is he is trying to pile on to the opposition, saying that तुम्हारे टाइम पे कितना एक्सीडेंट हुआ था, अभी कितना कम हो रहा है.
अध्यक्ष जी जो इस तरह से बोल रहे हैं, वो उनको पूछिए कि वो 58 साल के अपने राज में 1 किलोमीटर पर भी एटीपी क्यों नहीं लगा पाए, 1 किलोमीटर भी एटीपी. आज ये प्रश्न पूछने की हिम्मत करते हैं. अपने कार्यकाल को देखें, अपने गिरेबान में जाके, अपने गिरेबान में पहले झांक के बताएं. इसी हाउस में ममता जी जब रेलवे मिनिस्टर थी, वो अपने एक्सीडेंट के नंबर बताती थी. 0.24 से 0.19 पे होने पर इतनी तालियां बजाते थे. आज 0.19 से 0.03 इंडेक्स होने पर आज इस तरह के आरोप लगाते हैं. क्या है ये बात?
You see, 1970s when I was born, you know, electric cuts or power cuts were normal. It used to be there almost every second month. There used to be power cuts. There were times where one day there was no power. So what? In 2024, I should say that the government is giving power, Baba. So what if it is just cut for half an hour? Will I accept that? That was 1970. Power cuts were there. This is 2024. I cannot give the example of 1970. The power cut था तभी कुछ नहीं बोला. अभी power cut है तो तुम बोल रहे हो. What logic is this? He was talking that. He was saying before, look at the number of accidents, the percentage of accidents. Look at the percentage of accidents now. It is reduced. So you claimed that you are going to have bullet trains, didn't you? You claimed that you are going to have super fast trains, didn't you? Didn't the Prime Minister of this country go and flag even the one single train? Didn't he come and flag? When you are taking up that responsibility and saying that, listen, you know what, I am going to ensure that, the face of the railway is changed, you better ensure that without accidents. Then you can't say, 75 years mein kitna accidents hua? I mean, what kind of logic is this? You are the minister. Accept that there is a problem. Accept that there was a failure. Address it. Address it. Railway ministers have resigned because of accidents. The least we are expecting is a person to address it. Address the problem. That's the point I wanted to make before I end. Do watch an interview that I took of Mr. Shyam Manav. Mr. Shyam Manav is the head of Akhil Bharatiya Andhashraddha Nirmulan Samiti. He is a person who spoke about the affidavit that Mr. Anil Deshmukh, the former Home Minister of Maharashtra, was allegedly made to sign by allegedly Bharatiya Janata Party to ensure that Thakres and Ajit Pawar were put behind bars. A very, very, very interesting interview. I will urge you, watch it. Watch it, it's in the channel. I think we published it at 9 o'clock. Watch that, 8 o'clock, I guess. Watch that interview. It's very, very interesting and very, very revealing. Till I see you next time, that's tomorrow at 10. Oh, sorry. Till I see you next time, that's day after tomorrow at 10. Namaskar.
Stay ahead with our cutting-edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.